Hi there everybody, welcome again to my channel about Qlik world. Last week we were talking again about set analysis. We covered a few things. I'm gonna do a quick recap of what I did, what I talked about last week, and we will continue. We talked about set analysis, we talked about the structure and the syntax of set analysis and how we write it. If you remember, set analysis is written inside an aggregation function together with the field, and just before the field name we put set analysis inside the curly brackets. Set analysis consists of up to three components: the identifiers, which are just names for sets, predefined sets of records. Set analysis, if you remember, is actually a way of telling Qlik what is the set of rows that you are going to calculate the expression, the formula, the aggregation function, with what data. So default sets are the $, and the 1. The $, is the current selection, 1 is the entire record set. We talked about modifiers. We saw how we can take the identifiers, the initial set that we start with, either it's the entire set or the current selection, and modify it. And today we are going to talk about operators. Operators is a special kind of function that we can do with sets of records. With sets, like I said before, we are dealing with the set theory. So actually, a set is a group of elements, a group of things. In our cases, it is values inside fields. And in Qlik, the set is consisting of all the values that are associated with the current selection or with the selection that we enforced via the set analysis expression. And the operators is a tool that allows us to make operations on the sets, to combine two sets and get a new one. There are four kinds of operators in Qlik. This is the list, and the description is everybody that knows the set theory should be familiar with those operators. The union operators. The union operators takes two sets and returns all operators. Almost all operators actually takes two sets. We will talk about the different one in a minute. Take two sets, and the results of combining them with the operator is a new third set, which is the set that will be the one that is passed on to the aggregation function to work upon. So the first operator, the union operation, which is represented by the plus sign, takes two sets and returns a new set that consists of all the elements in both of the sets that are in any of the sets. That means actually it's a combination of all the values in both of the sets. So if we have a set which has 1 and 2, and we have a set which has 3 and 4, the new set will have 1, 2, 3, 4. We will see example of all those operators in a minute. The exclusion operator takes a set, and it takes another set, and it returns a new set that has all the elements from the first set, but not elements that are also in the other set. That is, it excludes. It takes, let's say I have group 1, 2, 3, and in another group I have 3. If I put the minus operation, the exclusion operator between them, then I will get a new set which consists of only 1 and 2. The third operator, which is the intersection, denoted by the star symbol, again, it takes 2 sets of elements, in our case of records, of rows, of field values, and returns a set of only those values that are appearing in both of the sets. So if we have 1 and 2, and we have 2 and 3, our new set will only consist of 2, because only 2 does appear in both of the sets. And the last one, which is the symmetric difference, or XOR operator, which is denoted by, I don't know how to say this, by the dash, I think it's dash. It does similar to the intersection, but it returns the opposite. It returns only the values that are either in one set or in the other, but not in both of them. Okay, it's kind of the opposite of the intersection. So if I have 1, 2, 3, and I have 2 and 3 and 4, I will only have 4 and 1 in the new set, because the 1 appears in this set but not in the other, and 4 appears in this set and not in the other, and 2 and 3 appears in both sets, so they won't come to the new. Sorry, they won't come to the new set that is created. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Hi there, how are you? Still with me? That's good. Okay, so the operators can be used both in the between identifiers. It can be used on any between any 2 sets of records in set analysis. In this example, for example, we have the operator minus between the 1 and the $. What does that mean? It means that take the entire set of records and exclude all the values that are associated with the current selection, and we are left with only values that are not selected. So this is a way to show the sum of sales for only the values that are not selected, that are associated with all the field values that are not selected. And here we also give it a modifier, and we enforce another selection, which is the year 2012. So let's go ahead and see some real life example of this. Okay, so here I have this chart, and I have a few columns in this chart. Everything is categorized by city name. I have the sales, sum of total sales with nothing, with no set analysis. I have the sum of sales. Let's go inside and see it in the data. I have the sales total, sum of total sales under the sales column. I have sales of sum of total sales, where I put a selection in the year 2015. Remember, if I don't put anything before the modifier, it implies the dollar sign. It implies the dollar identifier, which is the current selection. So here I am just modifying whatever the current selection is by adding a new selection in the field year of the value 2015. In this second column, I have the same principle. I have sum of total sales, but for product, again, the dollar sign is here, but I modify the current selection, whichever it is, by adding a new selection in the field product group and selecting the value cheese. So only values that are associated with anything that is selected already, plus values that are associated with the product group cheese, only those values will be summed from the total sales field. Now let's see what happens when I use the 4 operators on them. So in this first example, I have used an operator which gives me which is rather similar. Sorry, in this column I have this formula. Let's do it like this. Okay, and I've used. Oops, sorry. This should be. Yeah, this is the intersection. Sorry, I got mixed up with the names. This should be or, and this should be and. Sorry. So let's start with the or. Let's reverse the order. Still with me? Very good. Okay. So here I took the two modifiers. As you can see, this is modifier from the formula from the expression number 1, and this is the formula from the expression and from the expression number 2, and I use an operator between them. And this operator is the union operators. And if you remember, the union operator returns a set that consists of records that belong to any of the two set operands of the two sets that are involved in the operation. Okay, so actually what I get here, I get all the cities for each city, the sales for all the sales that were either sold in 2015 or the product is cheese. This is the same if I didn't use the modifier. Let's take this same formula and make another measure, and this will be the same as using two modifiers, two field modifiers in the same sorry, we'll come back to this. This is not what I wanted to say, but sorry. I am a little bit excited, so forgive me. Okay, so back to what we saw. This is actually the union of both of them. So a product needs only a sale need only appear in one of those, be associated with only one of those field values. Either it was a sale that was in the year 2015, or it was a sale in the product group cheese. Only those values that are any of those two will be summed in this expression. The next expression, I actually used the intersection, and this only gives me items that appear in both. That means only values in the field total sales that are associated with the value 2015 in the field year and the value cheese in the field product group will be selected in the for calculation in the sum of total sales. Okay, now this is exactly as using the regular format where I put more than one field, more than one pair of fields inside an operator. If I use this is the same as using the intersection, because in this case it is also AND. Only products that are in 2015 and in product group cheese will be selected for the calculation, and I can see it's not formatted, but I can see that this column and this column, let's put them one by side, are the same. Okay, let's continue. The next operator that I'm going to use is the exclusion operator. Okay, this time I'm telling it, take all the values that are associated with the year 2015, but exclude from these all the values that are associated, all the total sales. Remember, all the things that we do here in the set analysis actually in the end affects which values will be summed or aggregated in the from the field that we are aggregating in the expression. So in this case, only the total sale values that are associated with the year 2015, but not associated with the product cheese, will be summed in the expression sum of total sales. Okay, this is the exclusion operator. The exclusion tells it to exclude all the associated values that are associated with cheese from all the values that are associated with the year 2015. Okay, so this is the third column, sales of 2015, but without cheese. Everything else except cheese. And the last one, which it doesn't in this case makes much business sense, but we will see a way to use this last operator, the symmetric exclusion operator. What this does, it tells Qlik Sense something like this: take all the values in the field total sales that are possible after we apply the current selection. Okay? Now, from these values, take only values that are either associated with the year 2015 or are associated with cheese, but not any sale value that is associated with both of them. Okay? The regular intersection, the regular OR operator lets me calculate values that are either in 2015, either in cheese, or in both. The symmetric operator, the XOR operator, tells it only if this value is associated with anything in the year 2015, but not in product cheese, or it is associated with any product cheese, but not in the year 2015, only then will we calculate the total sales. And we see that we don't have many cities that have this that have both of these values. Okay, so this is the basic of using operators in Qlik Sense in the set analysis expression. Now we will go a bit further and see another way to use operators, and this is called explicit operators. Okay, and the explicit operators allows us to take a set of rows and actually make a new set with the set that consists of all the values in the field and a subset of the values in the field. And let's see what I mean by that. Okay, so here again we have the formula. We have total sales with 1. Remember, 1 denotes the entire record set, so this column will not change whatever the selections are. We have another column which is only sum total sales without set analysis, and we have the last column which chooses specific product groups, Bologna, canned fruit, and canned vegetables, to sum the total sales of those 3 groups. Now let's see what is the use of the other operators. You will see that I excluded one of them. We will talk about it differently. Okay, so the syntax for using this is like this. And actually what I'm doing here, I will copy this so it won't get spoiled. Actually what I've written here is something like this. I told it okay, I actually take the product group, the entire set of product group, and I do the operator with this set of rows. So this set of rows of values, let's say, consists of 50 values, 50 elements, 50 things, and this set of elements consists of 3 elements. And what I'm doing here, I'm doing a union between those two. Now, instead of writing this entire operation, this entire like this, I can save space and write it like this. Okay? So actually, what I have here only select in this field, select, do an intersection, do a union between this value and this value. So actually what I get is actually no different, because this is a subset in this case of this all the values of this set. So the union returns actually the entire group of product groups. Okay? And now, and this is why we get, if you see, we get the same result. I have some nulls in the values because I needed them for something else. So this is not exactly the same value, but this should be the same value. Okay? The next one is the same thing, but here I'm using the intersection. So here I'm intersecting between this set and this set. Okay? And I get intersection of the set of product groups and the set of Bologna. And the same thing, I'm doing with the XOR operator. Let's change the number so it will be more readable. And the same thing I'm doing here with the XOR operator. Now you asked me, let's return. Now I'm sorry, I said something stupid earlier, but I will correct myself now. There is actually, sorry, this one. Okay, so there is actually a difference between writing this like this, or excluding the operator altogether. Okay, because what I'm doing here is actually I'm making a new selection. Okay, in this case I tell it take the current selection and enforce a new selection of these values in the field of total group. When I use the operator here, I'm actually telling it take the values that is here, but remember this is the value here that is affected by the current selection. So let's say I selected 2015 in the layout. That means that not all the values from the product group are participating in this operation. Okay? Not all the values from the product group are unioned with the values in the element set that the literal element set that I've put here. Okay? Only the values that are selected or are possible. Okay? Because this field is already influenced by the current selection. Remember, the syntax is actually this. So actually, I'm telling it, take all the values in the product group and make a new selection in it. But instead of just telling it, do it only with these values, I tell it, do it in an intersection between what is already possible, what is already white or green in the field product group, and this element set that I put on the other side of the equation. Okay, so actually, if we will look at this. When I don't select when I don't select anything, okay, this is the regular expression. I tell it, take all the values, take sum the values of the total sales, but make a selection in the product group of these three values. In this case, I use the same, but I do it with a union. And here you can see that I still have all the other values in the selection, because currently there is nothing selected. Okay, so actually it takes all the values in the field product group and intersects them with those three values that I have here, and the new group that returns actually consists of all the values in the product group field. What happens if I select? Let's say I select these 4 values. Okay, so you see now that this remains the same. It still only selects those 3 values, and only those have anything that to sum up from the field total sales. But here, because I'm intersecting it together with the 4 values that are selected, unioning it with the 4 values that are selected, I get the 4 values here. Okay, now both of them are correct. It depends on 2 things. First of all, on what you want to show the user, and second of all, what is the business logic of what you want to calculate. But the second option is actually more accurate for the user. I won't say accurate, it's more user-friendly, because it's what the user expects. We always, when we instruct users, we tell them that what's going on in the measures is affected by the values that are selected. But here, they selected 4 values, but they only see sales for 3 values. So if we use the union operator, we can actually intersect it, or in this case, union it with what the user is have selected. And let's make another case. What happens if I select 2 of these values? I arrange the values so the first 3 are those that are selected. What happens if I select 2 from here and 1 from here? Okay, and I do again. Again, in this case, I have the union, so I get all the 4 values, because there are 3 values that are inside the formula, plus another value cheese, which is not inside the formula. In the intersection, I actually get an intersection of the values from this group with the values that I selected. Remember, what I've selected is canned fruit, canned vegetable, and cheese. Okay? Now, cheese is not in this set. So in this case, with the intersection, only canned fruit and canned vegetable appears in both of the sets. Okay? So this is why this formula is actually showing me only those 2 values. And this one is, like I said before, it's actually the opposite of this one in a way, not always. But so this formula only gives me values for the bologna and for the cheese, because both of them are only in one of the sets. The bologna is in the first set, and the cheese is in the other set. This other set is the one that I've selected. Okay, so I have 2 sets here, and the operator is going on between them. Okay, now let's see if I don't select anything. Okay, this is what I get in all the 4 columns. The first column, I get what I've told it to select inside the product group. This is the regular way to write the selection. So it shows only values on those 3. Here I made a union, so all the values show up. Here I made an intersection, so again only those values appear. And here is the XOR operator, so all the other values appear, which is not, because only them are in one of the sets and not the other. I hope this was clear enough and that you understood what I'm talking about. I think I have only one viewer right now. Hi, Merav. Okay, now if you have sharp eyes, you would notice that I didn't include the fourth operator, the exclusion operator, because I wanted to talk about it separately. Because everything we've done so far was tell Qlik Sense what values to include in our calculation. We enforced it either to include only this value, only that value. We used searches, we used the $ expression, but everything was built around telling Qlik Sense what values we want to be included in our selection, in our calculation. But what if we want to exclude something? We want to tell Qlik Sense, calculate whatever you want to calculate based on the current selection or on the entire set of rows, but I want you to exclude something from the selection. Okay? So for this, you guessed correctly, we are going to use the exclusion operators. Okay? But there are a few things that we should know, and we will go over them. There are a few ways to achieve this, and each one is a little bit different, and we will see the difference. We will see the difference. Now, sorry. Okay. So again, I have this. Let's make some more room. Again, I have the same first two columns, 3 columns. The first one is just the total sales of everything without being affected by selection. So whatever I select, this column stays the same. The second one is sum of total sales without identifier. So we said that if I don't put any identifier, it is the same. Okay, sorry, without set analysis. Without set analysis, so whatever I select, only these values will show. Now, the third one is, let's look at it. The third one is using set analysis and the modifier that tells it whatever the selection is, I want you to add another selection in the field product group and select the value cheese. This is the third operation, the third column. So far, nothing has changed. Okay? Now, we start with the first way of writing things down. Okay? And that is the explicit operator, like we did before, but this time we are using the exclusion operator. So let's dive in and see what we wrote here. We told it, take the value product group and exclude from the from the field product group after it was affected by the current selection. Remember, when I use the explicit operator, it's like I have written it like this. I will again do it like this so you will understand. Okay, so I'm telling it actually take all the fields, all the values in the field product group that are left, that are either green or white after the current selection was applied, and only those values you should exclude from them the value of cheese. Okay, and the syntax is like I said before, instead of writing the field twice, we can write it like this. So here I actually tells it, take the product group and exclude from it the value cheese. Okay, but take the product group field only the values that are affected by by the identifier, by the current selection, and are currently green or white, only use them in the set that you are excluding from it the value of cheese. Okay, so this is one way to write this operator. So we can see that every value here actually is actually calculated except the row for cheese, because I told it don't calculate the sum of total sales, cheese, for the field value cheese. Now, another way of writing this would be like this. Okay, like I said before, I could write it. Let's put it here. Okay. What I'm telling it here is actually exclude the value cheese from product group. Okay, and here is a case where I can use the operator with only one operand. Remember, I told you in the beginning that all the operators takes two sets and produce a new one. In this case, the sorry. In this case, with the exclusion operator, we can use only one operand. And what happens is that Qlik actually returns the complementary set, the set that complements the group. So if I take a set of elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and I exclude from it the value, and I use the minus, the exclusion only on this field, what I get is all the other fields, all the other values in the field. Now, if you see the difference, let's just format this also, sorry. The auto format that is not decimal points is frustrating to me. Okay. Now this comes into effect when I don't do anything. It looks like this is the same, but this comes into effect when I select something in the field. Let's say I select something in the field and I select the cheese inside it. Okay? This is the difference between this one and this one, because this actually tells Qlik take the cheese and return the complementary set of values that are in the field product group. So if cheese is an element list of 1, then the complementary set is all the other values in the field product group. So in this case, I get everything except the cheese. Where in this case, because I told it to exclude the value cheese from the current selection inside the product group, I take values for all those 3 fields and nothing for the other ones. So this is the difference between using the exclusion operator as a unary, as one-sided operator, or using it as an explicit operator with both with 2 elements. So this is the difference between this one and this one. Okay. Again, in this case, the complementary set of all the product group for the set of cheese is all the other values in the product group, and in this case, it's the exclusion of the value cheese from what is selected in the field. In the field product group. So this is why we get a difference between these formula. Now, but there is another thing that is problematic with both of those approaches, because neither of these approaches, if you can see, I have some sales that are associated with no group at all. Okay, I have $5,574, which has no connection, which are not associated with any product group. Okay, and if you can see, neither of these words, of these things, give me the result of the none, because of the null, because I want to exclude the value of cheese from everything else. But when I'm doing this, I'm actually telling take all the values in the field product group, okay, except from cheese. And when it takes all the values, it doesn't select the null. So both of these are not calculating the null. We get 0 from both of these ways. But what if we want to actually do calculate the null? Okay? So in this case, the only way we could do it is by not selecting and excluding the values in the product group, but selecting something in another group. Selecting in another field everything that is not associated with cheese. And this way, the null value, the sales for the product group null will also be included. So how do we do this? We have a special function. We have 2 of them. Here we are using one of them. I think I didn't put an example of the other one, but I'll try to explain it. So what we're doing here, okay, we are actually making a selection in another field, in the field product ID. Okay? Now, we tell it, take the product ID, and we are going to give you another thing to select in it. And what is this another thing? Another thing is a function that is called E. E for exclude. Okay? Excluded. And the regular syntax, let's do it like this. The regular syntax of the function E is actually, we tell it, take the values in all the values that are inside the product ID field, return from those values all the values that are excluded due to the current selections. So let's say I selected year 2015, so some values in the product ID were not sold in 2015, so they are excluded. They are not associated with 2015, so they are excluded. They are gray. So only these values will return, and I want to select only this value. This is akin to going to the search in the field search and tell Qlik select excluded. Okay? Now, the function E tells it take all the values that are in the product ID and select all the values that are excluded, and then pass it to the product ID and select those values in the field product ID. There is a similar function which is called P, which does the opposite. It tells Qlik sense take all the possible values that are currently possible in the field product ID. Possible means either they are green or they are white, and use them as selection in the field product ID. And actually writing it like this, there is no use, because by selecting it, I don't need any set analysis. They are already going to influence the calculations of the total sales, so I don't need to do this like this, but there are uses. Next lesson I will try and bring you an example for this one, but let's see what we've done with the So when I use the function E, when I use the function E, this is a function, I should have taken all this. This is the only time where I can put something to the right side of the modifier equal sign, okay, that has no curly brackets. Remember, the syntax for what is inside the modifier should be anything included in, should be a field name, equals, and some element list included in the curly brackets, right? This is the regular syntax of a modifier. But in this case, when I use either the function E or the function P, I can use it without curly brackets. The function E returns an element set which doesn't need to be surrounded by curly brackets and is passed to be selected in the field product ID. Another change is that although this is not a regular aggregation function, I can put a set analysis expression inside it. Okay? Just like this was, let's say, sum of product ID or count of product ID, I can use inside this function, be it P or E, I can use a set analysis expression. So what I've done here, I put a modifier, I took the current selection, and I put a modifier that tells it, actually, go to the field product ID, but get only values that are associated with the value of cheese in the product group. That means, let's say, whatever the current selection is, add another selection of cheese, and then you will get a few values from the product ID that are either green or blue. Reverse this, take only all those values that you just selected and select the excluded, and take those excluded and select them in the field product ID. Okay? So actually, what I did here, I used the product group cheese to select in another field. And when I do this, actually also getting back my null value. Okay? So these are the three ways that I can exclude values from the selection in Qlik Sense using the exclusion operator. Okay? Now, for the finale, for the grand finale, let's see a combination of everything used in some practical way. And one of those things that we can do with the operators and the modifier and set analysis is what we call basket analysis. In basket analysis, we usually take a line of products, and we want to see which products were bought by both. The customer both when they bought one product, did they also buy the other product? And for this, what we do, we put the product group list here, and let's say I want to see how many customers bought Bologna and canned fruit. And none of them. What happened here? Something is wrong here. What happened to my data? Okay. Something happened with all the games I did, but we will settle for these two. Okay, so let's see what we have here. I selected two products, and what I have here is an analysis of customers that bought either chips or cheese, customer that bought both cheese and chips, customer that bought cheese but not chips, and customer that bought cheese or chips but not both. And like this, I can select any two products and see the relations. And this I can say, okay, if so many customers bought cheese and cookies, but some of them only bought, but very few bought cheese but not cookies. So maybe I can start advertise myself to the customers and tell them, okay, when they buy cheese, I tell them, hey, you maybe want to buy cookies also. So this is a very useful way to see what combinations of items the customer are buying. And we can, I don't really know currently what is going on here with the data, but it doesn't really matter right now. So this actually allows me to make what we call basket analysis, which products go together, and see if we can influence our customers that only bought one of the products to buy the other one as well. This is usually used, for example, in Amazon. You go and select something to buy, and at the bottom you get a list of customers that bought this, also bought this and this and this and this. So this is a very useful way to make the basket analysis. So now let's go inside and see how we did it. Okay, as you probably guessed, we used the 4 operators. Okay, so let's dive right in and see. Can you guess, by the way? Can you guess which are the 4 operators here? They are used in the same order, like I showed you before. This is the union operator, this is the intersection operator, this is the exclusion operator, and this is the symmetric difference operator. Okay, so but it's not only like this. We will see exactly how we did it in this example. Okay, so the first one is actually very easy. What I did is I used to allow the selection of fields and to show them on the chart. I used 2 variables, the product name and the product name 2. Let's go and see what's inside these 2 variables. And in this variable, what I used a function that is called subfield. Okay, and let's see why I used it and how I used it. Okay, if you can see, when I'm selecting things here, I get I have a function that is called getFieldSelection. You see, getFieldSelection, and I give it a field name, and it returns the list of items that are currently selected in the field that I gave it. And I can decide what is going to be the delimiter. In this case, it's a comma. Okay, so actually what I get a delimiter separated list with the values that are currently selected in the field that I used inside the formula. Now, the function subfield is a very special function which allows me to select any element number inside a delimited separated list. Okay, so in this case I have a list of Bologna, canned fruit, etc., 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 all separated by a comma, and the function subfield in this form. There is another form, but we will not discuss it right now. I will do a special night of broadcasting on special functions, so we will talk about it later. It is used in the load script, but not in this syntax. In this syntax, the function subfield takes 3 parameters. First of all, it takes the list. Okay, this is the parameter number 1. In this case, the list is returned by the function getFieldSelection. Okay, you see me? Everything is there? How are you guys? Okay. Okay, so the first parameter of the subfield function is some kind of list separated by some delimiter. The second parameter and the subfield, this is the second, is the delimiter that is used. Okay, I can decide whatever I want to be the delimiter. Let's say, for example, in this list, I decided that C is the delimiter. Then I will get this part right here is going to be element number 1. This part right here after it is going to be element 2 until the next C, etc., etc. But here I told it to use the comma as the separator. So what I get is a separation of the list by the comma value. And the third parameter is telling Qlik what which of the element list I want to return. It starts, the first one is numbered 1, and so on. So in this case, in the field, in the variable v product name, I told it, get the current selection values in the field product group, return it as a list with a comma inside it. Then use the subfield operator with the comma delimiter and return the first element. And the first element in this case is Bologna. So in this case, in the field product group, v in the variable v product name, we have the value Bologna. The same thing I did with the next variable v product name 2, and here I use the element number 2. So this returns canned fruit as the element list, as the value inside the operator. Okay, and okay, I know I have more values, but I'm using for the set analysis, I'm only using the first two values. So let's see what I'm doing here. So I actually tells it, it's very simple. It's like the example we saw before. I take the field product group and I tell Qlik sense select the value that is in the first variable. In our case, it's Bologna. So select Bologna in product group. I tell it go to product name 2 and select the value inside it. This is canned fruit inside the product group. So now I have two sets. One that is one set that is consisted from the canned fruit inside the product group, and another that is consisted of the value Bologna, and I tell it to make a union. So I get a new set with two elements. So it's like I told it, go to this field product group and select inside it Bologna and canned fruit. And the plus operator is doing the union. So I get actually the value of or. Okay, so I get here the value of or between, let's select those two only. Okay, so here the first one is Bologna, the second one is cheese, and the third one is ignored. Okay, so here I have only customer that bought Bologna or cheese, because here I use the union operator. Now, it gets a little bit, sorry. Select. It gets a bit trickier with the other operators. It's not straightforward. Let's open this one and see what is going on here. Here I had to make a different selection. I had to use the function p. Okay, so what I did here is the same as we did before. I take the customer ID. I'm making a selection in another field. Okay, I'm going to tell it make a selection. I want to make a selection in the customer ID field, but I want to make this selection only on certain values. And these certain values are, take the values in the customer ID, but select only values in the customer ID that are associated with the value v product name, whichever it is, inside the product group. And because I used the function p, it brings back, sorry, what happened? It brings back all the possible values in the field customer ID corresponding or associated with the value v product name inside the product group. And I take this element set and I do the same with another selection, and I do an intersection between those two. So only values that appear in this group and in this group are selected, are possible, and only those values will be selected in the field customer ID. Again, let's do it again. I take all the values in the field customer ID that are associated with the product group v product name. I intersect it with all the customer IDs that are associated with the value v product name 2 inside the field product group, and I do an intersection between those two sets, and I get a new set. And this set I bring back to the customer ID and makes a selection. So in this case, I return only customer ID. I am counting the number of customers IDs that has both this product and this product. And this is how I get the end, the intersection between those two. Now, let's go and see how I'm doing the third one. Okay, and here I'm actually doing the same thing, but instead of using the, see, I told you before, whenever I have a complicated set analysis, let's go back to it again. Whenever I have some complicated set analysis expression, I try to make it more readable by putting it in lines, putting every statement or every group or every dollar expansion or every modifier in a separate line, so it will be easier. So here I have, first is the first modifier, which is going to be modified by the selection in the field customer ID, and it has one function which is excluded from another function, and this is the aggregated function. Okay, so the aggregated function is in the first and the last row, count distinct customer ID. And inside is the set analysis expression. And the set analysis expression is, okay, we're going to select something in the field customer ID. And what I'm going to select is influenced by these two functions. So first, give me all the possible values in the product group ID that are okay, I forgot to say something. I will say it again in a second. Something is missing here, right? Because I'm telling it, give me all the possible values that are associated with the first product name in the product group. But these are product groups. They are not going to help me in customer ID. One of the peculiar things with the P function, I did it on purpose here, so you will see it when you notice it, is that if I omit, here should have been, remember the function P should have taken some I deleted one too many. The function P should have had some form of a field inside it. Okay. Okay. This is the set analysis. Okay. Okay. This is a set analysis expression. But where is the field? If I omit the field name from the function P, it assumes that the field name that I am using is the same field name that is before the equal sign. So actually, what was written here was as if I have written it like this. Okay? And the same goes here. Okay? This is the function, if you remember. Let's go back to this one. This is what I used here. Customer ID and inside customer ID. Actually, I could have just taken the customer ID from here, and the formula and the expression will work, because like I said, if I omit the field name from the P function or from the E function, Qlik Sense automatically knows that the same field that is here on the other side of the equal sign is used also here. Okay, so this is why, I'm telling you this because sometimes somebody will write this without the field, and it will look like it's wrong, but it's not wrong. So you'll know. Okay? So I can either use this or not use this, but anyway, I'm doing an exclusion. I'm taking all the customers' IDs that have bought the first product, and I exclude from them all the customer ID that have bought the second product. So this is why I get all customers that bought cookies but not dips. And the last but not least is the last one, is the symmetric difference. And this is one of the rare cases where we actually have a use for this operator, because it's very interesting to know which of our customers bought only one of those two products and not the other. Okay? The first here gives me only one side. When I use exclusion, I can see who bought cookies but not dips. And I can make another column that says who bought dips but not cookies. But using the symmetric difference, I can do both of them inside inside one expression. So let's see how we did this. And we see that we actually did it again with the function p. So I divide it. This is first one. This is second one. This is the set analysis. And this is the function count distinct customer ID. You see, when you do it like this, it becomes very, very easy to understand what is going on here. So here I did the same. I took all the possible values that are in the customer ID that are associated with the field of, with the name of product name 1 in the product group, and I told it to XOR it with the element list of possible values in customer ID that bought the other product name group. And this is when I get the last and formula here. And when I don't select anything, remember we have a calculation condition. This is why I get this message. When I come here, I think it's here in the general. I always forget where it's. Add-ons. Data handling. I can put here a calculation condition. If this calculation condition is not met, Qlik displays this message. And this calculation here is if the count of selected items in the field product group is larger than 1. I could have make it show only 2 equals 2. So it will only when you select 2 of them, but I didn't want to. Because this way, if I select 3, I still get this message and I don't want it. So I can do it like this. It's the same thing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed my the hour you spent with me. I hope everything was clear. Please, if you have any comments or have any questions, please please put them. Send me an email or put a comment in the Twitch channel, and please press the follow button so I will have followers, so my channel will start to bring other people and more people to use it. Thank you very much, and hope you have a great time.